Kiro TV presents the 1995 Texaco Cup at Seafair. Brought to you by Texaco Clean System 3 Gasoline. By Southwest Airlines. Fly Southwest, the official airline for Seafair 95. And by U.S. West In-State Long Distance.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Lake Washington on a gray, drizzly day. And in fact, the drizzle is giving way to some downright rain showers here. A little bit unexpected. We knew it was going to be a little damp, but we had no idea. Winds are picking up. Temperatures around 60 degrees. Everybody we've talked to so far today says this is fine boat racing weather, but it's not much fun for all those folks who are going to be trying to watch the boat racing from out on the log boom or along the shores here of Lake Washington. We are in our pre-race ceremonies, the opening ceremonies here for the Texaco Cup. We've got Chinook helicopters, the magnificent view here from our Chopper 7. 3 Chinook helicopters from the 124th ARCOM unit based at Payne Field. This very same unit has choppers and personnel in service in Haiti as we speak. So we thank those ladies and gentlemen of the service so much as they bring our American flag into position. The Marine Corps Band is set up just below us, and they are preparing to play our national anthem in just a couple of moments. Welcome back again, everybody. Steve Gribble with John Walters here. We've got a very full day of boat racing for you. Also, as we said, the Key Bank Air Show. We've got Kiro Television News' Margaret Larson, who'll be along to tell us about some of the great community activities of Seafair. And John, again, you've been through a lot of Seafairs. A little bit of rain is not going to dampen the spirits, certainly. Boat racing aside, it's not going to dampen the spirits of this summer celebration.
Oh, I don't think so at all. Everybody comes out here to have a good time, and after all, it is a water sport. You know, they're going to have a good time with it. If they get a little bit of rain on them, I don't think they're even going to notice.
Let's go down to the pits. We'll reintroduce all of our reporters during the course of our meanderings around the pits. First, let's start with Bill Rocky.
Stephen, with the defending champion, Dave Vilwalk. And Dave, that sounds pretty good. You've had a good time with that.
Yeah, it's great. You know, see if we can keep it up, you know. And we'd like to come out of this, you know, the champion again, of course, just like a lot of other people here. Got the boat running good. Went out, ran this morning, ran real strong. So we'll see what happens. You know, the weather's throwing us a little curve here. It's really, you know, there's some real great fans out there that are here and in the rain and everything. And, you know, it's too bad that the weather didn't cooperate, but we're going to have a heck of a boat race here anyway.
Are there any surprises that you have to look for out in the course when the weather's like this? Any extra bumps or anything?
Well, Seattle, we know it's going to be rough. Maybe it'll be a little less rough than usual because of the poor weather. Really, some of the wave action from the log boom traffic might not be as significant, but we'll see what happens.
Good luck.
We'll go out there and take a whack at it.
Have a good day, have a safe race, and he'll try to win it again. Let's toss it over to Ron Callan.
Thank you so much. This might be the longest title for any hydroplane in history. Computers and Applications, Epson, Stylus, Color. They're in Heat 1A, and the driver's Ken Muscatel. He is in the trailer staying dry. Let's see if we can find Ken. And there he is. Congratulations on another great season so far. Heat 1A, you're involved in it. It's raining as hard as I've ever seen it race on race day here. Talk about what that's going to do to you in the conditions out there.
Oddly enough, the rain doesn't affect us in the race boat on the race course. I mean, we get water over the canopy. I mean, it's wet. And anywhere we run, it's wet. And that doesn't bother us. And actually, the conditions are very good for the race boats. It's real hard for the crew, however, because it's so miserable. And we're going to be fighting the cold and fighting the slipping on the deck. I mean, it's going to be dangerous walking across these decks. It's going to be a challenging day. Hopefully it won't be too rough, and I think we'll do a good job.
Now, what's your mood right now? I mean, it's 15 minutes or less before the first heat, and you must be getting kind of pumped up. What's going through Ken Muscatel's mind right now?
We have a lot that's going on. We're continuously fixing this boat for really the whole season, and so part of it is hoping the boat stays together and knowing that it's inevitably going to break, and part of it is just trying to figure out the handling, because that's all changed since we've last been here.
And last question, last week it really got beat up badly on the Columbia River. You guys spent all week patching this baby up to get ready for today, right?
Yeah, the boat was vaporized essentially, and it's a lot of people didn't think we'd be here. I knew we'd be here, but I was gritting my teeth at what it was going to take to be here. But we're happy to be here for our sponsor, Computers and Applications. We're happy to be in Seattle. This is the place to be.
Good luck, Heat 1A.
Thank you very much.
All right, let's send it over to the east side of the pits and Tony V. Tony?
Thanks, Ron. We got Mitch Evans here. Mitch will be driving the Mill Bay Casino, Spirit of Lake Chelan. Let's see, how many sponsors can I reel off here? Well, the Mill Bay Casino. That's the important one.
Yeah, Mill Bay is it. They've been our biggest supporter for the season, and we're glad to have them along here for the Seattle race.
Got a little comparison for you. We have the turbine engine over here, belongs to the Miss Budweiser. We've got the only piston boat in the final that belongs to you guys. Tell me a little bit about some basic comparisons. This thing is huge.
It's huge. It's 1,710 cubic inches, produces about 2,900 horsepower. The turbine engine, of course, a little different setup. It's not a reciprocating engine. It burns kerosene, produces about the same amount of horsepower, but at a lot more RPM.
We're going to come back right after the national anthem. Mitch, hold on a second. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back with Mitch Evans. Just quickly before we leave you, Mitch, the rain can help, the cool weather can help the turbine. Does it hurt the piston boat?
No, it definitely helps us. We have a water injection system that we run all the time to help cool our engines. So today we won't need to use as much of it with Mother Nature helping out for the race today. So yeah, we definitely use it.
All right, good luck out there. Thanks, Mitch. We'll see you later. Have a good run. Back to you guys.
Tony, thanks very much. As the Chinook helicopters pass by the grandstand area in the pits, we're going to take a commercial message. We'll come back, talk more about seafair and boat racing in just a minute. On the shores of Lake Washington, but I'll tell you, there's a lot of folks just trying to keep dry right now, including our crew at the start-finish line. Rick Corella, Mike Fitzsimmons are trying to drape tarps over every inch of their body and stay dry. That's what it looks like from our wide shot. Let's take a look like from inside their little Quonset hut facility. Rick, Mike?
Here at the 11,000 foot level on Mount Rainier, it's getting a little drippy up here.
Oh my!
This is not doing me well.
You know, for somebody who's such a good mathematician, you'd at least award long pants on a day like this.
Yeah,
Corella.
I cut the budget just a little short on this deal.
Mrs. Corella, send your son back some pants, will you?
Start knitting deer.
Let's talk about boat racing, gentlemen. We've got some qualifying speeds. We've got lane assignments for the first heat. We're getting ready here to run, and the drivers have game faces on now.
Yeah, they certainly do, and I think the number one thing to consider here is that despite the fact that Chip Hanauer is atop the qualifying ladder, these guys have been laboring with this race boat to try to keep up with the Smokin' Joes. Very unfamiliar situation. Some of their complaining has been just a little bit of grousing and whining, but the reality of it is that this race boat hit 162 with a lot of work and a lot of stress and a lot of strain. The Smokin' Joes hit 162 and made it look easy.
Chip got a bit of a break on the luck of the draw coming out in this first heat. He's got a bit of a cakewalk. He's a good 10 mile an hour faster than everybody he's going to run against, so it gives him a good shot to go. I think with the Budweiser at 162.5, Smokin' Joe's 162.2, they're right in the neighborhood, both right in the neighborhood of last year's or the pre-restrictor record, which I don't understand. I thought that was going to slow these boats down, and they continue to get faster.
Yeah, it hasn't done that. As a matter of fact, they continue to get faster, and now there's talk about perhaps slowing them down even further here at the rest of the qualifying averages. And the Appian Renegade, interestingly enough, is going to have to run as a trailer because this is the first time that we have had 13 qualified unlimited hydroplanes. This is the largest fleet of turbines ever to qualify for a race. And under the circumstances, we're dealing with a very, very large field here, and usually they run 6 boats only. So the Appian Renegade, the yellow boat, will run in a trailer position until or unless one of the other race boats is unable to continue running, and then they'll be able to come up to the front line.
Boat racing on Lake Washington. Bernie Little owned, driven by Chip Hanauer. The Budweiser taking to the water, as are the other boats for Heat 1A. And for the call of the race, the voice of the hydroplanes in the Northwest, Mike Fitzsimmons.
Thank you very much, Steve. Heat 1A of the Texaco Cup is brought to you by Texaco Clean System 3 Gasolines. Add more life to your car. Take it to the star. Seafair would like to thank also Copiers Northwest, where performance makes the difference. We're getting ready to go racing in Heat 1A of Texaco Cup 1995, and the boats are coming out of the pit area. There goes the KISW Miss Rock, and already the piston boat is out. We see the taco time. There we go. I was going to say that sooner or later. Might as well start right off the top. The pizza time. Now let's check the combatants in this one. Chip Hanauer, he'll have the inside lane. Chip looking for Bernie Little's 100th victory in the Miss Budweiser, and he's had a tough time of it the last few races. He's struggling to keep that Budweiser up to par. He's not used to being second best. Home port, Seattle, Washington. Bernie Little has been in racing longer than almost anybody. And here is the pizza time. This one is driven by Nate Brown, the Exide Nautilus boat. Bill Worcester, also involved in hydroplane racing from the Seattle area for so long. And this is their second race of the season. This is the former Tide for you fans who are keeping score. They lost the Procter & Gamble sponsorship this year, and they're back with the Pizza Time and Exide Nautilus and hoping to attract somebody to take them on tour next year. KISW Miss Rock, Mark Evans has had a great year in this boat. He's a very, very strong and aggressive driver, really coming of age. The boat is one of the two owned by Fred Leland, and Fred Leland also owns, as you know, the defending champion here on Lake Washington. Mitch Evans drives the only piston boat, and this one is the Mill Bay Casinos. The boat hails from Evansville, Indiana. On the right is Ed Jr. In the center is Ed Sr., the Coopers from Evansville. Ed Jr. is a school teacher back there, and Mitch Evans is the driver of the boat, builder of the boat as well. And he hails from Chelan, Washington. Well, there she was almost blowing over in this particular picture. Ken Muscatel's boat is back together again in the computers and applications. The Epson boat is ready to roll, and Dr. Ken Muscatel from Seattle is aboard the U-14 and ready to go racing. And then Mike Jones and Jerry Hopp team driving. Mike Jones will be in the boat this time in the Cascade Homes. He's the owner, he and Lori Jones, and this boat is out on the race course, largest of the race boats at 35 feet. Appian Renegade trying to get started and can't. The Appian Renegade we have down as the alternate for the Heat 2, so I don't know why he's even out there, but maybe they're going to allow him to be an alternate in each start. In any event, Tom Hinley having problems. Meanwhile, the boats are headed up to turn number 2, the north turn, the bridge turn.
We have a white flag.
The white flag having been displayed means that we're inside the 1 minute period. At any time now, if the boats have a good line on the start-finish line, they'll start them. Oftentimes they let them go around at least once on a parade lap when they're side by side, but they'll get them started just as soon as they have a decent line. And it appears that the Budweiser and the inside center of the pinwheel, if you will, is in the right place on the outside, the Cascade Homes, with Mike Jones coming down, and he looks all right as well. Let's see if we get a green flag. There it is.
There it goes.
And they're off and racing. And from the inside, Chip Hanauer on the right of your screen is leading the race boats down into turn number 1, and he's got a good angle on that corner right now. But on the outside of him in lane number 2, that is the Pizza Time Exide Nautilus. And look out on the outside of him as Mark Evans comes around in the Miss Rock. Great boat race off the corner. Up the back chute, Chip Hanauer puts the hammer down in the Miss Budweiser. This boat is very roller sensitive. Watch this boat try to launch off similarly to the way it did when it flipped a couple of years ago. On the outside of Chip Hanauer as he rocks and rolls through that north turn right now. Watch for the white boat to come splitting out. There he is. And that is the Pizza Time Exide Nautilus with Nate Brown at the wheel. In third place still. Coming out of his rooster tail now, that's Mark Evans. First time across the line, 139.664. So they're not really slamming the hammer down right now as they go into the lower corner. What do you think of the boat ride down there, John Walters, for the Bud?
comes down the front straightaway here into the wind, the Budweiser seems to be flying a little bit. You can see little puffs of white water come off the recovery areas when Chip gets after the canards to bring the thing back down. Besides the rough water conditions, one of the things that I noticed the smell in the air as the boats left, this is the first race where they've been restricted to kerosene, so the fuels may burn a little bit cooler, reducing the horsepower and the boat speed just a little bit.
Well, the boat speeds are down. Chip just took a nasty hop there in the corner, and he's really pounding that to left sponson around up there in the north turn. As he comes out of the corner now, he's got a pretty good lead on the second place boat, the U8, which is the Pizza Time Exide Nautilus. Across the line, Chip Hanauer for the second time. He crosses at 144.352 miles an hour, followed by the Exide Nautilus crossing the line at 132.613. So he's pulling away. Chip Hanauer has everything under control and at a fairly reasonable speed as well.
Most of the guys, you can see the boats are fairly well pinned down here, and that's just great going down the straightaways. When they run into the wind, they skip over the top of those waves pretty smoothly. Where it really affects them is when they get into the turns and the boat speed comes down, the boat aerodynamically gets a little heavier, and you'll see the sponsons catch and the boat twitch real violently as they get into the corners trying to steer themselves.
All right, everybody clears the white flag lap, and that means that they're going to be bringing out the checker. Oh, Mark Evans takes a bad fly down the back chute in third place there, hitting some real sloppy water. Checkered flag comes out for Chip Hanauer now as he crosses the line to win Heat 1A, and he's in a hurry to get right back to the pits. Here comes the second place boat, the Pizza Time Exide Nautilus batteries. Third place is going to go to Mark Evans, and his boat's still flying, launching off the rollers as the KISW comes across the line.
At the back of the pack, there's a heck of a boat race going on for last place right now.
Yeah, we got a doozy of a race between Mike Jones and Mitch Evans up there, and they are just side by side. This is the closest boat racing in this heat as Ken Muscatel brings his boat, computers and applications, across the line and gets scored for fourth place overall. Look at the battle we got going. We got a heck of a battle, and it looks like on the outside, Mike Jones is going to try to bring that horsepower. I don't know if he's going to have enough.
Whoa, he doesn't. Boat race.
Fifth place will go to the Mill Bay Casinos and the Cascade Homes with Mike Jones, the Turbine, in sixth.
Ken Muscatel's got to be feeling elated after last week being on his head in that boat, having it in 1,000 pieces and getting it together and getting a lap in today.
Indeed he has to, and I'm sure he feels good about that. Well, Texaco Cup Heat 1A was brought to you by Texaco Clean System 3 gasolines. Add more life to your car. Take it to the star. And there's the star so far, Chip Hanauer. Unofficially, the Miss Budweiser, your winner. The Pizza Time Exide Nautilus second. The Rock in third place. Computers and Applications fourth. Mill Bay Casino fifth. And the Miss Cascade Homes is sixth.
And for Chip Hanauer, just another day at the office as he steps out of the boat looking very calm, cool, and collected. Not too concerned. Keeping the boat on the water. And of course, he'll go back now immediately, talk with his crew chief and talk with his owner, Bernie Little. Find out exactly how the boat was handling out there. And as you guys mentioned, he caught a little bit of air a few times bouncing around on some of those rollers, John.
Yeah, he sure did. The boat got a little light on him coming down the front straightaway here a couple of times. I think that Chip's going to be real happy to get this first heat over. First of all, he's actually got, past the tension of starting the first time. And you can see right here, the boat pitches up on the skid fin a little bit, gets out of the water, which is actually a loss of control when that surface comes out of the water. The boat comes back down real hard here, and you see the lumps and bumps right there as the white water sprays off. It tends to violently pitch the boat around. Now let's go down to Tony and see what Chip has to say about it.
Chip, pretty satisfied with that run? Seemed pretty smooth.
We don't have them here. We have to make some changes. Not quite what we want yet.
Obviously, there was a heat you were going to win going out, but you're not satisfied. What is it you're not satisfied with?
Well, handling. We got to use these heats through the day to make the boat better for the final. So, I think we learned something, and hopefully we can apply it to the final.
Okay. All right. Good luck, Chip. Thank you. Bernie looking pretty happy, but not. Let's turn you around for a second, Bernie. Hey, there's a long day ahead of you here, but how you feel so far?
Well, I feel good. When you get that first heat behind you, we learned a lot in that heat, and that's what we wanted to do. And we didn't have Smoking Joe, and Picos, so the really hot boats we didn't have to run against there give us an opportunity to do some experimenting. So we need to make some changes so we can ride a little better, and we will.
Okay, I have a feeling you'll have them to compete against later on.
You're right.
Thanks, Bernie. Back upstairs to you guys.
I think it's interesting that Bernie Little says he didn't have the hot boats to run against. He who ran a 162-mile-an-hour lap just yesterday. Here's Bill Rocky standing by as well. Billy.
Okay, I'm with Mark Evans. Mark, bouncing around a little bit out there.
Yeah, it's a little rough, typical Seattle-type race course, but didn't do too bad. The rain, I think, is knocking down some of the waves, I hope.
Is it any different with this weather as opposed to maybe a sunshiny day?
Well, yeah, your visibility is a little bit shaded, but other than that, it's not too bad. A big part of the problem around this kind of weather is if you're damp inside, humidity will come up and make your windshield all fogged up, so you got to be real careful with that because you got to see where you're going when you're out there.
We were talking about that earlier. Did it steam up a little?
Just as I was coming in, it started to, so, but it wasn't too bad other than that. We put the goop on the inside and took care of it.
Okay, have a good day, Mark.
Okay, thanks much.
Bill Rocky, thanks. I put some goop on my eyes, so they're not steaming up either. I can see perfectly well. There's Ken Muscatel. You guys mentioned it, Mike and Rick, during the course of the race. This guy has to be maybe the happiest man on the water today because he did get his boat back up and running. Ron Callan is getting into position with Ken Muscatel, and as we let Ron get Ken's helmet off, we turn to them now.
All right. Thank you very much. Well, Ken, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about this. You've got to be thrilled with what happened out there in this first heat.
I'm thrilled with what happened out there that seat. Yeah. Well said. I felt, the boat really ran pretty well, and but it was fogged up inside. I could hardly see outside the canopy. So I looked for big things like boats and buoys. That's pretty much it. Couldn't read the water conditions at all because of the fog inside the cockpit. It was quite an experience, to say the least.
Well, you got a fourth place, you got some points, and the boat came back in one piece, so you've got to be really happy, and congratulations to you. Get ready for the next one, I guess.
We're astonished and happy.
All right, thanks a lot. Let's go back to Steve.
He's astonished. I think we've got that clarified now. Here are the now official results of Heat 1A. Miss Budweiser gets 400 points for the win here. Pizza Time X-Side with 300. KISW Miss Rock, third place, 225 points. There's Ken Muscatel's boat, Computers and Applications at 169, followed by Mill Bay Casino and the Miss Cascade Homes. Those are the point totals so far after Heat 1A. Let's go back down to the pits with Tony Ventrella.
You know, Nate, I noticed one thing was going on today that wasn't happening last year. It's raining like a son of a gun out here. Does that bother you?
Is it raining? I thought it was still Chip's rooster tail hanging around me. I wasn't really sure there, you know? Yeah, it's wet. There's no doubt about it. It was wet in the cockpit, too. I'm starting to fog up, and I'm starting to look through my glasses like this, going down the chutes. It was pretty nuts.
What do you got? Do you have some stuff you can spray on the inside of that windshield?
Yeah, we try wiping it around. The old diver's trick. You spin on it and smear it around a bit, and it keeps the fog away. So
that's very good.
Yeah, it works. It works.
Not bad. You pick up 300 points. Happy, disappointed, or what?
I'm disappointed because I got another second. You know, when I go like this, it's not peace, it's like second again. But I got to be happy because we finished, and like this race, like if you didn't know, the weather and water and everything else, it's like we got to finish every heat to make it to the final. And once we do that, the Pizza Time and next side will hopefully do good in the end.
All right, outstanding. I've tried Pizza Time. Not bad. The crust is good. A little too spicy, but we'll talk about it.
It's good. You got to stop ordering the pepperoni with extra spice.
See, that's the problem. There you go. You get these tips, you write them down, you keep them with you. We'll be back down here later, I'm sure. We'll see you guys.
I presume so, Tony. Thanks a lot. We have much more racing to go. We also have the award ceremony for Chip Hanauer and Company winning the first heat for Miss Bud. We'll get to that right after this. In the boats, let's go down to the presentation stand for the awards. The winner of Heat 1A.
Hi, I'm Mark Petrie and this is Greg, and we've been coming to Seafair for about 30 years, and we've seen a lot of Chip out here. And Copiers Northwest is proud to be a sponsor of the 1995 Texaco Cup. So on behalf of Copiers Northwest, Puget Sound's Panasonic copier and fax dealer, I'd like to present the award to Chip Hanauer of the Budweiser Racing Team. Chip. Thank you. All right. Great performance.
Thank you. We're really glad to have Copiers Northwest involved in the Texaco Cup and coming out here on a tough day when it's kind of raining. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Ron?
Thank you. Jim Lucero has won 65 races during his illustrious career, and you've got so much going for you here this week. The boat's been running so well. but now you've got the rain situation. Mark said he was concerned about the cool weather a little bit. What does Jim Lucero think about the present situation with the Smokin' Joes and Heat 1B?
Well, I don't think that the water conditions are bad because of the rain. We don't have a lot of wind out there, although it did look like it was getting pretty lumpy in the north turn during the first heat. Biggest problem we have here is with this temperature differential, you end up getting fog on the inside of the windscreen. The guys can't see where they're going. We ran into that when we tested this morning. We actually had to cut our test sessions short, so we've been putting all of our efforts since our test session into keeping the fog off the inside of the canopy. But if we get that solved, I think the Smokin' Joe will be in good shape here in this first heat.
Does the distraction of the weather help a little bit as far as you look at the big picture of this boat and how close you've come here over the years and how tough it's been for you and for Steve Woomer, who wants to win so bad here?
Well, I don't think that we're going to let the weather stand in our way here. That we've got the boat well prepared, it's running well, and Mark's doing a good job in the boat. But we have had bad luck. I mean, we've gone into the final heat here each of the last 4 years with a chance to win it and managed to botch it each time. And the red boat's running really well. The Budweiser guys have gotten their act together since last week, and we knew they would. You know, Chip's a great driver, and they've got an outstanding crew. So I think we get down to the final heat in particular, it's going to be a heck of a boat race.
Good luck to you, and I got to say that I really appreciate this camp because they have the largest umbrella of all the camps down here so far, Steve.
Well, we actually have the largest umbrella, and we're underneath it, Ron, and we're not going to move, I don't think, for the rest of the afternoon. Thanks to Ron Callan and the rest of the guys down in the pits. John Walters, you were a crew chief as well as a driver. What does a crew chief go through this time of day as their first heat is approaching?
It's really difficult. You're nervous because you want to get into the first heat. It's those pre-game jitters a little bit. You go through, you wonder if everything was done, if you're best prepared as you can possibly be. The bottom line is that the crew chief has a base responsibility for everything. Except if you win, the driver gets the credit, but if the crew chief, has a problem with the boat, he ends up, absorbing the blame for it. So I think that they're a little bit concerned about the wind conditions, the water conditions, the cool air, and certainly the canopies fogging up on the inside. I noticed a little bit of strategy, I think, on the part of the Smokin' Joe's guys here this morning, in that being second qualifier, they actually had the first lane choice in this particular heat. They've chosen to start not on the inside, but on the next lane in number 2, maybe thinking ahead that if the Budweiser and them tie up, and the Budweiser may get an inside lane, they're going to set up to be able to run on the outside and possibly win from the outside if have to.
Let's bring Mike Fitzsimmons and Rick Corelli in on this conversation as well. I was going to mention the same thing with Steve David now inside on one, and then you've got outside of Mark Tate, you've got the Pico American, which is also the third fastest boat here in the racing. Mike, what do you think about the lane choices here?
I saw you do that in a hotel.
I'll witness that.
I think that the strategy that's obviously here is that this is all aimed at whether or not Mark can work the second lane against Chip later on in the day. I think that's what it's all about. But I'll tell you what, you don't want to give Steve David the inside lane. Mark did that at Kansas City, and he regrets it. He certainly does, in light of the fact that the T-Plus went on to win the race in Kansas City. T-Plus has the inside, and it runs well on this course on the inside. The Smokin' Joe's on the outside. He also wants to see how he can handle Picos with respect to end of the straightaway shoot speed. And this is a real test heat for the Smokin' Joe's and for Mark Tate. They ought to learn an awful lot. The spoiler in this one is the DeWalt Tools. They're running real strong, and they've been a little careful up until now. This is the former Miss Madison boat, second place in the nation in 1993 when it was the Kellogg's, and it's great to have the Madison people back. As you know, Rick, they weren't here last year.
And this boat, too, is the one that holds the competition lap record on this race course. So this boat has it in it to go fast. He had a win in San Diego 2 years ago, I believe it was. So there's 4 boats right here. They're going to put on a heck of a show, I think.
Lanes aren't always, the inside isn't always the best thing at Texas. They had the choice of lanes, took lane number 1, the Smokin' Joe's did. It turned out to be the rough lane, and Budweiser got by them there, even though the momentum was with the Smokin' Joe's the whole time.
That's a question I have for you, Mike. In those 4 lanes, what's it going to be like into the middle of that second lap? Now, we've got 4 guys side by side going real fast.
It's going to be nasty. You saw what the Budweiser looked like. It's just plain going to be nasty. This is Seattle.
All right, Mike, Rick, thanks. Meantime, we think we're seeing a bit of a break out on the north end of the course. We'll check that out for you. We'll also come back, give you the official lane assignments, and get ready to go racing again in Heat 1B. All coming up in just a couple minutes. LA is up over the Miss T Plus with Steve David at the controls as he is getting himself buckled in and getting ready to go racing, while Mike Hansen quietly thinking about what's to come for him out here on the choppy waters of Lake Washington. We've got boat racing coming up, the best pictures in town from Chopper 7, and the best announcer of all, Mike Fitzsimmons, at the start-finish line for Heat 1B.
Thank you very much, Steve. Texaco Heat 1B, Texaco Cup 1995, brought to you by GTE. With GTE, it's amazing what we can do together. Seafair would like to thank Golden Grain Mission, trusted quality since 1912. And the umbrellas are the order of the day in the pits, and it is a real difficult time for the crews. I mean, these race boats are slippery on the decks, and the crews certainly are going to have a tough enough time getting around. Their rugs will slip off, and they're going to be on their knees a lot. They're going to be wet. They're going to be cold. It's a tough time to crew on a race boat when the rain's like this.
One of the things I noticed, too, in that first heat when Ken Muscatel came by, wiping off that window. If they send these guys around a couple of laps, it's going to get worse inside.
Well, indeed. Steve David will be driving the T-Plus engine treatment, and its home port is Seattle, Washington. The owner, Jim Harvey. Stephen David is going to become next year the president of the American Powerboat Association. Also in this heat will be Mark Tate, and he's going to start from the 2-lane. His owner, of course, wants to win here. Steve Wimmer's never had a win in Seattle, though he's been trying for 12 years. Mark Tate from Wayne, Michigan is the leader, way out front now in driver points this year, but he's got a great boat battle going with the Budweiser. The defending champion of the Texaco Cup is Dave Villwalk and his Pico American Dream, Fred Leland's second boat in the race today. We saw the Miss Rock in competition a little bit earlier. Mike Hansen in the DeWalt Tools signals the return of Miss Madison to the Northwest after a year out. And Hansen both is the builder and chief bottle washer on this racing team, as well as the driver. And Scotty Pierce got a handful in Ron Jones Jr.'s boat. The KMPS Chaplin's Volkswagen is going to be a bit of a struggle to work with, but he's a game driver, and he's going to be going for it. And Ken Dryden enters competition on Lake Washington, things he's got to be thinking about right now as the Elstrom manufacturing boat gets ready to go racing. And the Elam Plus is on the water. So they're coming out. By the way, we will not see the Appian Renegade come out onto the water this time. They got their try for Heat 1 in the A Heat, and they are through for this section. You'll see them out in the second section of heats as a trailer boat again, or in the event of an attrition, they'll run on the front line. So the Appian got changed to the A instead of the B, and that's why they were out and got towed back earlier because of some form of a problem with the race boat, but it looks like everybody's coming out now. There is Scott Pierce rounding the corner down on the north end of our race course. We're still waiting on the DeWalt Tools, which is just barely getting underway here. We've got the turbine fired up, but the boat is not coming up on plane. This rough water is going to provide Scott Pierce with all he can handle with that race boat, John Wallers. I think he's going to have a tough time running it, and he's going to be running back just a little bit. So we'll have to keep an eye on him. He's going to have a rugged boat ride out there, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I think he is too. They really struggled last week in Tri-Cities. Scott never had the opportunity to drive the same race boat twice, and that they were working on it between heats every time. It was a new learning curve for them. They've been having some problems with the boat hitting too hard. They added some wing section, then the boat was flying too easily. Hopefully they can find some sort of a compromise here today for Scott.
They're working on it, but he's been wrestling that race boat. It's been a real handful. Well, so Stephen David in the 1 lane cruises the back chute, getting ready for his colleagues to catch up. As the yellow flag flies from the official tower, there you see the spread of the boats. They're all trying to get into their slots. And down the front chute, it is the Elam Plus, way out of position at this point, but we don't have the white flag up quite yet, so Kenny Dryden can catch up. There's the white now. No, not yet. Still in the yellow. And Ken Dryden will probably cruise and wait for the other guys to catch him now. He sees them down on the other side of the race course, and they'll look across Lake Washington at each other here at the midsection of the course.
Michael, the inside boats continue to queue up on the outside boat?
Well, the inside boats actually can't queue up when they start to turn left. They can't see the flag go down. When they start to turn left, they're looking at their left, and they're going to queue on the guy that's making the turn. And last weekend in Tri-Cities, as a matter of fact, the guys made the turn on the Unlimited Lights course, and everybody went on inside with them.
They followed the leader.
They did. And the Appian Renegade wound up winning a heat because Tom Henley was the only one that figured it out. All right, they are bunching up, and at this time, the Elam moves to its position, having cut the course and joined the rest of the group. You can see that wake action down there in the south turn from that shot from the air, and those wakes will be there again when these guys get back down the next time, assuming we get a white flag and we get a start. The white is up now, so we could get a start. If the lie is correct for these guys, they're all getting into the traffic now, down on power. Supposed to bring them to the line at 120 miles an hour. It's real hard for the inside boat, particularly because just as in a track and field start, they start in a staggered sort of way, but they have a very short throttle-up period to the start-finish line, whereas the outside boat has momentum going for it, and the boats from the outside counting them in. All right, inside it's going to be Steve David in the T+, lane 2, the Smoke and Joe's, lane 3, the Pico.
Pretty nice cartwheel effect coming out of that corner.
Not too bad. Let's see if we get a start. Yeah, the flag is up, and Mike Hansen leads them across the line in the DeWalt Tools from the outside. Here's the Smoke and Joe's now getting the acceleration at the end of the chute, along with the Picos right to his right, and they close the door on Steve David as they go around turn number 1. It's the Smoke and Joe's, the Campbell-powered Smoke and Joe's out front, getting a great battle from the outside by the Pico American Dream at this point. And in there also moving up in third position, both the DeWalt and closer to the buoy row, the T+ trying to catch them. But the two to watch are out front now. The inside boat, it's this one. He takes a slam or two on that corner. And the Pico American Dream, the blue boat, defending champion, is staying on his hip and trying to reel him in. Here we come down to the end of lap number 1. And Mark Tate has not shaken Dave Vilwalk. 143 miles an hour for Mark Tate across the line, and Vilwalk is moving on him as they go down into turn number 1 for the second time around.
Vilwalk is also really bouncing on some of these rollers down here, Michael.
Yeah, he is. He's getting launched off those rollers, and that's there into the wind turn there. Now they've got the wind at their back as they go down the back chute. This same back chute where this race boat a couple of years ago with a different paint scheme blew over in the final heat as the Winston Eagle. But now the Smoke and Joe's has got a good boat ride despite the ugly water, and it is rough down there. A lot of parallel rollers. Into the north turn for the second time around. Turn number 2. The Smoke and Joe's has pulled away from the Picos now and is establishing itself as the commander in this particular heat. The Pico has moved to the inside at this point, a strategic move on the part of Dave Vilwalk, but he's losing real estate right at the moment to the Smoke and Joe's, which went across the line at 141.
Ken Dryden's making a heck of a show for himself in that Elam boat, back in competition. He keeps sneaking up on Mike Hansen in the DeWalt Tools boat, and he's got the boat up out of the water, flying kind of loose.
Yeah, he certainly has got it flying loose. He's getting way loose, and the boat is a handful for him down there. John, call him through there.
Yeah, he's having a real tough time trying to keep up with Mike as he comes around there. The boat seems to get set off on the parallel wakes and get the thing up in the air. Once it gets up in the air, it seems to have the ability to come back down, but I'm sure that Kenny's got his hands full, and he probably doesn't like to have to drive the boat that way.
No, he's floating it and having to feather it quite a lot, and then of course he gives up some ground to Mike Hansen when that happens. All right, checkered flag is coming out. Here's your winner. And back to 514 points ahead of the Budweiser goes the Camel-powered Smoke and Joe's, launching off the rollers at the start-finish line, coming across at 138.934. Second, the Pico American Dream across the line at 136. Third place, it will be the T+ engine treatment, also launching off the rollers. A lot of water action out there. Good battle to the finish line between the Elam and the DeWalt Tools, but the yellow boat will take it. DeWalt Tools, fourth place overall. Elam gets scored, and Kenny Dryden will take him any way he can get him. That's the first checkered flag he has answered in an unlimited hydroplane since his accident, and he very definitely has to be happy about that. And just as we suggested, a real handful for the U50 boat. The KMPS presents Chaplin's Bellevue Volkswagen, and Scott Pierce is exhausted, headed back to the pits right away. He wrestled it all the way around at low speed. Here's your winner now, coming across for a cool-off lap at the north turn. It is, unofficially at least at this point, but it looked pretty solid. Smoke and Joe, second Pico American Dream, the T+ engine treatment, third DeWalt Tools, fourth Miss Elam Plus, fifth, and the Compass Chaplin's Volkswagen was sixth overall.
John Walters will hear from the drivers in just a moment, but what did Mark Tate learn about his boat out there that he didn't already know this morning?
Well, I think that Mark continued what he had last week, and that is he has a far superior boat ride to anybody I've seen so far today. The boat tends to be able to step over the lumps and bumps without getting flyaway on him. When it does get up in the air, he seems to be able to have the ability to bring it back down just about any time he wants to. The real strong point about this boat is that it instantly gets into the turn. The transition from going down to the straightaway gets to the entrance pin and turn. You see the rooster tail from the skid pin instantly go to the sky, and the boat never falters. He never has to back off the pedal. He just gets down to where he's ready to turn and initiates the turn, and the boat just comes around like it's on a string.
Mike, I think it's interesting to note we talk always about the straightaway speeds, and these boats can hit 180, 200 miles an hour or better. But getting in and out of the turns is where you win these boat races, correct?
Yeah, it really is. Boat speed through the corners is what's made the difference between the modern unlimited hydroplane and the days of old. The truth is, down at the end of the chute, you're not a whole lot faster now than you were then, maybe about 20 miles an hour. But through the corners, that's where the actual speed is being made up. The ability to go through the corners at almost 100% of your velocity and not spill off a lot of boat speed, and that's really what makes the difference. As Mark climbs out of his race boat, though, he has learned a couple of other things, and he has learned that this course is rougher than I think he thought it was going to be, and I think he's thinking about Texas when he gave the inside lane when he chose the inside lane, rather, and decided to try to hold the Budweiser out, and he wishes he hadn't done that because he bounced about a bit. Here you see him coming down the front straightaway right now in this replay from the last heat. And he is, as John suggests, holding the race boat down very, very nicely.
This is one of the better handling boats. You can imagine how difficult it was for some of those other boats that really aren't quite tuned to these waters yet. Meantime, as we await Mark Tate to take the helmet off, he'll talk to Jim Lucero, his crew chief. All of our pit guys are getting set, and there we go. We talked about the difficulties out here today with the wet boats. That's Dave Villwock, I believe, who stumbled and fell off the deck of his boat, almost landed in the water, fell on the edge of the dock. Guys are really going to have to be careful down here today. Meantime, let's go to Ron Callan, who's got Mark Tate standing by.
Well, Mark, let's talk about conditions. First of all, obviously you won easily, but talk about how the boat handled and what you thought of the course.
Oh, the boat handled really well. It's really hard to read the water conditions out there right now with this gray sky, but you know, it'll come as the day goes on, and you know, we're happy with our first heat win of the day with the Camel Power Smoking Joe.
Well, John Walters made the comment you were able to kind of fight through those rollers, and the boat wasn't flying away for you. It was staying pretty down in the water pretty well. Yeah,
we had a real good boat ride out there. Didn't have to push it real hard, but you know, we're going to have to get used to the water and learn how to read these shadowy conditions. It's just not ideal out there.
Well, did it steam up at all on you in the cockpit? Talk about that.
No, we had good visibility the whole time we were out there running.
All right, good luck in the next heat. Mark Tate takes heat 1B. Let's go to Rocky.
Villwock, tougher driving that heat or getting out of the boat? A little slippery on the dock here.
Yeah, it was. A little slippery getting out. But, you know, we'll have to move the rug a little bit next time.
But you were right on him there. You were with him for a lap or so.
Yeah, they had the inside on us. They qualified a little better. They had a little more depth, and we couldn't outrun them on the outside, didn't look like. But we'll have a little better motor. We can give them a little better run on that from the inside, you know, maybe next time.
Is it pretty bumpy?
It's not bad. Actually, it's, you know, as good as it gets here in Seattle, so it's a lot of fun.
I'm sure Dave's got a little more engine and stuff. He hasn't shown everything he has yet, and we'll see more from him today. Let's go back up to Mike.
Texaco Heat 1B was brought to you by GTE. With GTE, it's amazing what we can do together. There he is, Ken Dryden. He finished a heat of racing. He's finally got that monkey off his back. And even though he didn't finish up front, he finished, and that's a great opportunity for him to get back into boat racing. Down to Ron Callan, he's got it.
Well, you know, Kenny, it was a year ago you had that horrible situation, and you're back on the lake. What's going through your mind?
Oh, it's great out there. A little rough today and hard to see because everything fogs up so bad, but it is just great to be back out there.
Now, you got a little bit of, you went up a little bit there a couple of times. Talk about what was going on. You had to fight that boat a little bit, didn't you?
Yeah, it's rattling up a little bit. It's so rough that you get going and it'll bounce you up, and so you just have to keep on top of it.
Well, I think everybody's just happy to see that big smile of yours, and obviously you got to be thrilled just to be boat racing considering where you were last year.
Yeah, for our first race out, we're doing real well.
All right, congratulations.
Expect more.
All right, Ken Dryden looking real good in Heat 1B, and let's take it back up to Steve Rabel.
All right, Ron, we've got some official results just coming in a moment on the final racing results from Heat 1B, and there you're looking at them right now. Smokin' Joe's picks up the 400 points with Pico American Dream. Dave Villwock at the controls for 300 points in second place. T-Plus engine treatment. I don't know, guys. Am I the only one that's surprised? Steve David kind of hanging back a little bit here in Heat 1B. He takes a third at 225 points. DeWalt Tools, something not maybe right with that boat, as Hansen really held the controls of that one back. Miss Elam Plus at 127 points, and KMPS Chaplin's VW at 95 points. Here are some race speeds. John Walters will talk about this. 141 plus, pretty good for Smokin' Joe. Certainly not as fast as that boat can go.
It's not bad. I think that Mark was trying to, sort out the water conditions and feel what was going on. The Pico guys out there on the outside pushed him a little bit the first lap or two, and then they backed off. And I think that Dave backed off intentionally because they're a little bit slim on equipment. If they finish second and get those 300 points, they know they're going to gather points throughout the day, make it to the final. They'll have a better chance of running harder with a better motor later on.
All right, and T-Plus, Steve David, where was he today in this heat?
Those guys have less equipment than the Picos people do, and I think that if you look at these boats here in their order of finish, that's also the order of their depth. Smokin' Joe has the most stuff. They've got a little more budget. They've got more engines. They've got more spare parts. Pico's next. T-Plus is down there. The T-Plus guys, as of last week down in Tri-Cities, they were down to one engine left. I know that they've been thrashing all week, and they've probably got at least two that they can run today, but they really cannot afford to hurt anything.
All right, just out of curiosity, we see a 141.4 win this first heat. What are we going to see in the championship heat later this afternoon?
I don't think there's any doubt that it's going to take at least a 150 here. The qualifying speeds in much better wind and water conditions were in the 160s. I don't expect to see that here, but you're going to have Pico going to defend their championship with their very best bullet in there. You're going to see the Miss Budweiser looking to gain some points and gain some pride and respect back after getting spanked last week in Tri-Cities. You're going to see the Smokin' Joe's guys trying to win their first race here. I think that you're going to see at least a 150, and my guess would be probably a 155.
We've got much more ahead for you as crew members now work on these boats. They have some time between heats to take a look, maybe change engines, and as you saw, filing down propellers. These guys are artists. Meantime, we'll continue our artistic descriptions of your Texaco Cup Championship race day here on the shores of Lake Washington. More from the KeyBank Air Show as well, all when we come back. Part of the KeyBank Air Show, you are watching the Combat Controlled Parachute Team from McCord Air Force Base down by Tacoma. We thank them for being a part of today's festivities, and let's go down to the stage directly in front of us for the presentation of awards for Heat 1B.
Good afternoon. I'm Fred Stork, and we at Golden Grain Mission Pasta are happy to be a sponsor of the 1995 Texaco Cup. On behalf of Golden Grain Mission Pasta, I'd like to present the Heat 1B award to Mark Tate from Smoky Joe's. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank the people of Golden Grain for their support with Seafair and being sponsor of Heat 1AB. I'm accepting this in behalf of the whole Smokin' Joe Camo Power team, and thank you, and we're very proud to receive it. Thank you.
All right, Mark Tate now leaving the stage, heading back to the Smokin' Joe's compound here at the Stan Sayers pits. And now the next thing for those guys is to get ready for the next heats, and we'll figure out about the lane assignments as they come up. First, though, John Walters, let's talk about these speeds in this first heat today. Miss Budweiser, Chip Hanauer, 141.9, and Smokin' Joe's at 141.4. So it looks like both of those camps thinking sort of the same things as far as maybe keeping the boat together and let's just get it out there and see how it handles.
Yeah, I think both teams are going out there with the same attitude that they want to go as fast as they need to in order to win the particular heat that they're in, so that they don't trade any points back and forth for the national championship. But at the same time, they need to go as fast as they can in competitive type situations to sort the boat out. As much as these guys are looking forward to racing each other, they like these opportunities to be able to go out there and do a little testing, and they can give up 6 or 7 miles an hour with some slower boats and still be able to win the heat. They really need to race against each other, though, to sort each other out and feel what each other's got. Mark appeared to have superior boat ride. He seemed to have good acceleration and good mid-range. I think the Budweiser's got a little top end on him, so it'll be important as far as the lane choice when they come down to the end. So neither team can give up any points or position getting there.
It was interesting in both those speed graphics that we just saw that both drivers doing almost identically the same thing, and that is pushing the boat there about 144 for the first couple of laps, 140 to 139, and then dropping off down to the 137 range. Just hold the boat together, get it back to the pits, and let's see what's happening. As you can see, they're changing some props on a couple of the boats in the pits right now. Meantime, as we said, the drivers and crew chiefs are standing by for the lane draw, and that's what you see the officials doing right now. They've got it. I mean, this is very simple, folks. This is not done by computer still. This is done by drawing a number out of a hat, right, Mike?
That's it. That's Ralph Lewis with the hat, and Bo Darling and Mary Beth Lewis from the URC getting ready to draw. And of course, once they draw the participants at each of the heats, then based upon that flip-flop rule, the one that finished best in the first series of heats gets to choose last, and vice versa in terms of the ones who finished last shall choose first. And under those circumstances, now it's up to the luck of the draw, literally, as to who you not only go up against, but also which lane you get to a certain extent, because it's pretty well cast in concrete at this point.
All right, we're going to take a commercial break while they are commencing the draw, and we'll have the lineups for you for the second round of heats here at the Texaco Cup right after this.